Good evening. This is Connor Donlan reporting. Today, June 11th, was the birthday of the French oceanographer Jacques Cousteau. I had the extreme privilege of interviewing him prior to his death in 1998. I invite you to reflect with me now on the life and adventures of a man who gave us all the window into the little-known world of the deep sea. Jacques-Yves Cousteau was born June 11th, 1910 in France. Although he wasn't a healthy child, he learned to swim at age 4 and swam often. So tell me about your earliest memories of the water.
I love touching the water, kinda. Physically, sensually, water fascinated me.
Cousteau was a tinkerer from an early age and especially loved photography. He attended a private boarding school which gave him discipline he badly needed. He went on to the Naval Academy and then the French Navy. After a car accident injured both his arms, he began swimming for rehabilitation and discovered the love of the ocean. In 1937, he married Simone Melchior and had 2 sons, John, Michael, and Felipe. Cousteau is the most famous for developing the aqualung, now known as scuba, which stands for self-contained breathing apparatus. Prior to that, diving equipment consisted of airtight suits, lead boots, heavy steel helmets, and umbilical cord-like hoses that provided air. Cousteau became convinced that divers needed a portable breathing device they could carry on their backs for freedom of movement underneath the water. He tested the 50-pound lung in the Mediterranean Sea off the French Riviera. On his first dive, he went down 50 feet. In the following months, Cousteau and 2 friends made 500 dives, often filming underwater with a movie camera they had developed. In the 1950s, Cousteau converted a 60-foot minesweeper into what would become one of history's most famous ships, the Calypso. With a crew that included his wife and children, he sailed around the globe, searching for new areas to demonstrate his underwater technology. In 1953, publication of The Silent World, his account detailing the development of scuba diving, won many awards and financial support. He was then invited to head Monaco's Oceanographic Institute. Cousteau then set out to prove that humans could live and work on the ocean floor, and he and 5 others lived for a month, 35 feet below the surface of the Red Sea, in a structure he named Starfish House. To offset the costs of his experiments, he signed a multi-million-dollar contract to produce a TV series, The Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau. Mr. Cousteau, some of the members of the scientific community have criticized you for concentrating on film projects instead of serious research. What do you have to say to them?
I only had brief encounters with science. I believe in the science of joy.
He also became an active environmentalist. In his early years, he had thought that the sea was an exploitable resource. By 1970, he reversed his opinion and declared that the oceans are in danger of dying. While after his 80th birthday, Cousteau was still diving. But later years, he clouded by professional failure and personal losses. His youngest son died in a seaplane crash, and his wife Simone died of cancer in 1980. In 1996, Calypso was struck by a barge and sank in the harbor at Singapore. The undersea explorer, who died in 1997 at the age of 87, was determined to make people aware of harm that was being done to the watery world. One of your greatest fears is that the current generation is not taking steps to preserve the world's natural resources for generations to come. Can you elaborate on those worries?
The future of civilization depends, Connor, on water. I beg you to consider this. You will all now have the duty, you have the time to convince people.
Perhaps Jacques Cousteau's most notable achievement was the feat of bringing never-before-seen images of whales, sharks, dolphins, and other fascinating sea creatures in the loving rooms of millions of television viewers. His legacy lives on today.